Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast. This is Tony Bancroft, and I'm here with my twin brother and fellow animator from Disney, Tom.
I'm Tom Bancroft. Hey, everybody.
I did it wrong. I said Tom, and then you had to say your name again. So I kind of ruined it, right?
Oh, yeah. Are you going to start over or something?
No.
Oh, okay.
We don't edit these things. Come on.
Yeah. So, Tom Bancroft, thank you for being a listener of the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast. We don't often do this, but I want to make a little request that you go onto Apple Podcast and please leave us a review. Oftentimes when we ask, we do it probably once every 2 years, it feels like.
Yeah.
And
we should probably ask more often.
And here's another ask we should do. We do have a Patreon page, and we're not good at keeping it up. But if you do enjoy this, we kind of work at a very lean amount here between our couple sponsors and stuff. And so always nice to have patronage and some help. So if you want to go there and support us, that's awesome. Often
it is awesome
is what I was going to
say.
Do
it often and be awesome. And yes, thank you guys for listening. Some of you guys, we get a lot of people contacting us through our social medias and stuff like that. And it's been so great just to hear, and encouraging really, to hear from you over the years. Lots of fans out there about what we're doing. Just trying to keep animation alive here, folks. Let's keep it going, right?
2D, especially, as everybody knows, we have really big hearts for 2D animation, and we love all animation, but especially 2D.
And Tony, that's like our favorite child. Yeah,
it is our beloved child.
Yes, and as we sit here right now today, Tom, Annecy Film Festival, it already happened this summer. I think it was about a
couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say about a month ago. And one of the star breakouts from the Annecy Film Festival is the gentleman that we have with us tonight. I'd like to introduce to you guys somebody that just came onto our radar. He's so young and vibrant, really a virtuoso in music. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, how he got his start in music. He's done TED Talks. He owns his own studio, Mono Studios. I hope I said that right. He has a brand new film that he's worked a long time on, and we're going to talk about how long because it's a great story. And that movie is called The Glassworker, which premiered at the Annecy Film Festival. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have Usman Riaz. Welcome, Usman.
Welcome, Usman.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, have you heard of the podcast? Yeah. Have you always dreamed of being on the Bancroft Brothers podcast? Is that it? Is that a dream?
I watch it. I'm a subscriber to the YouTube channel, so it's surreal to be here.
Fantastic. Oh, see, you'll be able to watch this one and you'll go, look at me. Why did I wear that coat? I should have wore the other coat.
Well, and by the way, you have a great style and wonderful hair, Usman. We're very, very jealous.
We're jealous of the hair.
Jealous of that hair. You look like you have enough hair for both of us.
All of us. Yeah.
Usman, you look very young. You've already kind of told us off mic that you're older than you look, but you are not a teenager like you look. You're in your 30s. You've already done so much. So I would have been shocked had you been a teenager. And it's very impressive. Like Tony said earlier, you're new to both of our radar. I would say that's true of probably a lot of the people in the animation world are just hearing about you and your great film. It's called The
Glassworker. The Glassworker.
I was going to say blower. No, it's The Glassworker.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're going to hear a lot about that tonight because this is your big feature film debut as director, writer, right? You wrote the script too.
Yes.
Voice actor, I'm sure. I know that you did a lot of scratch. I don't know about final.
Yeah.
I did a lot of the scratch voice recording, yes. And for the Urdu version, I did some of the voice acting.
Okay.
And music, I assume. Did you compose all the music?
I'm co-composer on the film.
Fantastic.
So one of the reasons, Tom, we're doing this so late at night, and it's early in the morning for you. Is it 7 a.m., 6 a.m.?
It's 8 a.m. here.
8 a.m.
Oh, 8 a.m. Oh, well, you got it easy then. Okay. Late for us, early for you. Is that Usman is from Pakistan. And so yours is one of the very first 2D animated features ever in Pakistan history, from what I understand. The
Yes.
Glassworker. You just premiered it at Annecy. We're going to go back and hear a little bit about how you got into animation in a minute, but I would love to hear. Let's start us out. Can you talk a little bit about what Annecy was like, and having your premiere there this year? How did that go?
It was amazing. We were part of the work in progress at Annecy 2 years ago,
Mm.
and I prepared a presentation about the project, talking about how it's never been done before in Pakistan, and how much love I have for the craft of 2D animation, and that went really well. And then I didn't think it would take 2 more years to finish the film, but uh, we were there this year, and to be part of the official competition. We were in the Contra Champ category, and to be competing with and just having the film play alongside some of the best animated films in the world was incredibly surreal, and I was very, very grateful. And we had four shows, and all of them were full, which was something I didn't expect. But
That's awesome.
that first screening was the first time I actually sat and watched it with an audience. I had
Ah,
never seen
Wow.
it with anyone, even though I'd seen
Annecy
it about.
on the big
Yes,
screen, right?
yeah, that was incredibly special. And I had my partners at the studio, Khizr and Mariam, with me. We had Manuel Cristobal, our producer, and uh, it was just incredible.
And
And
the
also,
Annecy audience. Oh,
I
go ahead.
was kind of squirming in my seat because I I, I was saying, just to riff off of what you were saying, it's the most educated audience that will ever see this film in terms of animation. Everybody knows how much work goes into it, and they can
yeah.
see all of the technical issues and things as well. So it was uh, it was scary, but then I got into it and we enjoyed it, and
Yeah, but I
it was
bet
amazing.
the other thing about the audience is that they're the biggest fans of animation. They're
Oh yeah,
so excited.
Yeah.
There's no better place. Tom and I went to Annecy Film Festival last year, and Tom's documentary actually premiered there too. Um, and there's something about that audience. They
Yeah.
want to cheer you on. They're ready to
yes,
like something already. And
yes.
when they know that, and some of them probably saw it 2 years ago and was already following it and very excited about that day. Was there like a standing ovation? Were you crying? Come on, Usman, were you crying?
I I was crying before the screening, during the screening, and after the
After
screening.
the screening.
It was just I gave a talk before speaking, and I was doing my best to just
Hold
hold
it
back the
together. Yeah.
tears,
Ah,
because it was a culmination of 10 years of work. I was 23 when I started working on this, and
Mm.
I was debuting it there at 33. So it was just all kind of coming back and hitting me how hard this journey was, but also how tremendously just worthwhile and satisfying the journey was. So it was a surreal experience.
yeah. So for our audience, please pause this right now. Go look at the trailer to get this in your head of what this film looks like. There's a wonderful trailer out there for The Glassworker on YouTube. Go check that out. It is anime style. I want to make that very clear. It looks like Studio Ghibli. I was very impressed by that. Extremely colorful film. Very detailed.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you storyboarded the whole thing yourself too. I do want to get into that a little bit more. But so I'm just saying all that to get people extra excited. But I'm going to back up. We don't want to skip over how did Usman get to where he was 23, starting to create his own feature film. So tell us about growing up in Pakistan. What was the films and the inspiration around you that kind of made you fall? Do you remember the very first thing that made you fall in love with 2D animation?
Um,
Please say Mulan.
I guess the
No, no.
No, don't say that.
So, actually, the first film I ever saw in the cinema was The Lion King as a
Really?
child,
Okay.
and it was. I mean, at the time, obviously, I didn't know or think about anything about the animation. I just knew that this is something incredible. I think I was 4 years old when I saw it, and then uh, just everything that was coming out after that, the second Disney Renaissance, and of course Mulan is amazing. And um, my favorite character in Mulan is Mushu, of course.
Bless
So
you.
I will say that. And in
Oh, he did his
but it
research on us, Tom. So you don't even
I
Uh-huh.
don't.
remember the name of his film, and he remembers that you were the supervising animator.
I do.
Nice.
And
Glassworker.
no, I'm a huge fan of what both of you do, and you are just an inspiration. And for the, I think when I saw those films, the story moved me so much, the music moved me so much. It kind of just imprinted on me. And
Mhm.
the way I discovered Studio Ghibli's films is I had a VHS tape in Pakistan of I think these Cartoon Network cartoons, but somebody had recorded over Kiki's Delivery Service. And I didn't know what Kiki's Delivery Service was at the time. I didn't know about Studio Ghibli. I was just a kid. All I knew is once those Cartoon Network cartoons ended and that film started playing, that this is something special. And I would just keep watching it. Later, as I got older, I discovered more of their work and discovered that um, there's a director called Hayao Miyazaki in Japan. And then I started seeing all of their films and just understanding everything more. And
Yeah.
um, I vividly remember that just that film moving me a lot. So it was, and then I grew up watching the early works of Disney and Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, those films. Those were some of my favorite films
Tony worked
growing
on
up.
those. Didn't you work
Yeah.
on those, Tony?
Yeah, they came out in 1942. So sure I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So no, but were you seeing those on like VHS tape like a
Yeah,
lot of kids?
on
Yeah.
VHS.
Okay.
And my favorite VHS growing up was also this 15-minute short, The Prince and the Pauper.
Oh,
That one, I loved that film. I would watch it all
the
the
Mickey
time.
Mouse Disney
The
one,
Mickey Mouse
correct?
one, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. With Mickey as both the prince and the pauper.
It's
And yeah, I
it's
still have
fun.
that.
You know what? A lot of people don't talk about that one, but I'm
Yeah.
glad you mentioned it. A lot of people, you should
I
go
don't
out
know
and
that a
watch
lot
it.
of people have seen it because I mean,
Mm.
where does it exist? Maybe it's on Disney Plus.
It's probably on Disney Plus.
So
Yeah.
I keep looking for it on YouTube as well. There are very few just records of it out there, which is strange because it's such a. I think my connection. Can you hear
No,
me?
you're good.
you're
Yeah.
good.
You're
Yeah.
we can hear your
Yeah.
voice. Your picture just froze a little bit. That's okay.
No problem.
It happens.
So I was saying that even the music in that, like it's still stuck in my head. So I just loved that film growing up, and animation has just been such a big part of not only my childhood, but now I spent 10 years doing it. I love drawing. I love music, and bringing it all together in this was a dream come true for the
Yeah, no,
Glassworker.
so you mentioned music because one of the things that people may not know about you and your story is that didn't it start with music? You're just as creative and talented in music as you are in animation, and that's to me is incredible in itself. I would describe you as, I'm sure you've been told this before, like a genius virtuoso with music. You've done concerts all over the world. You've done TED Talks all over the world about music, but also about animation. Um, I mean, I want to say you were doing stuff at, how early did you get into music? And was that before your love of animation?
I've been playing music and drawing since I was 4 years old. And again, never thinking I would do anything with it. I just loved both of them. very, very much. And I grew up playing classical piano. So music was just a big part of my life as well. And I picked up guitar at 16, and I started focusing on this percussive style that I then started developing a bit more. And with music, I knew that animation in Pakistan just was never a possibility.
Mm.
And I considered like what I can do with the things I enjoy, and music just seemed like the right direction to go in, because I could sit in my room, I could record everything I needed to record, and then it was done. So I
It was
started
something you could do
writing
by
on. Yes,
yourself and
yes,
not need a
yes,
whole crew. Yeah.
exactly. So I wrote a few compositions and developed that side a lot more. And at 20, I got selected for TED, for the TED Fellows program, which was just one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, because I went to the TED conferences. I got to just expand my mind and see just all of these incredible people doing groundbreaking things, and be a part of that group of people. And I got to speak on the TED stage and perform with Preston Reed, and that video opened up so many avenues and opportunities for me. I got to then be invited to all of these different conferences all over the world. And that, again, the TED Fellows program, I, for some strange uh, just sequence of events, made me come back to animation, because I was seeing all of these incredible people doing groundbreaking things. I remember very vividly there was a TED fellow called Sarah Parkak, who had developed this space archaeology technology where satellite images were used to kind of um, track architectural dig sites all over the world. And
Wow.
she created that as an open source network where people could log in and discover the next potential architectural dig site. Archaeological, sorry, I said
Archaeological. Yeah,
architectural.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Archaeological,
There
I'm
could
so
be
sorry.
buildings there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, if she's doing this, I can try to do hand-drawn animation in Pakistan. It can't be as difficult as that. And I was so
Remember that,
wrong about
Tony.
that.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. We always
it
say
was
we always
so
say
difficult.
here in the US, we always say, well, we could be tarring roofs instead of doing animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you say, yeah, I could be doing satellite photography of architectural digs.
Mhm.
Mhm.
No, not
Yeah.
architectural. You just did
Archaeological, sorry.
Archaeological digs. All right.
Yeah.
That was
I
too
ruined
many
that
words.
joke.
No,
It was
I
too
get
much. Okay. I back off on that. So tell me, so Usman, though, so this love of music, and I've seen the video that you just mentioned with the famous guitarist that you mentioned too, but I can't remember his name. And it's incredible. You
Thank
talk
you.
about this percussive style. I should have asked you if you didn't mind bringing your guitar, if you could just give it a little sample. But I would just recommend that people go on to YouTube and look
It's
up
out
Usman
there.
Riaz. You'll see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've done a ton of stuff in music. So you're telling me that it was the encouragement that you got from doing these TED Talks all over the world, the fame, and obviously you're getting pretty famous, well known. People are talking about you, and that was the encouragement you needed to tackle animation in Pakistan.
And honestly, it sounds like inspiration is a better word, because you're probably hearing one
Absolutely.
story after another of somebody doing something pretty fantastic
And
that everybody
impossible.
said
Yeah.
was impossible. And you're
Yeah.
going, wait a second, I could do that. I love that. And so this gave you hope. It gave you inspiration. And then you put down the music and picked up the pencil again. Is that kind of the gist of it?
It was more shifting focus, because
Yeah.
again, I'd been drawing since I could hold a pencil, but it was more like, okay, I recalibrate your brain and just figure out how you can do this in Pakistan. What also happened was I was at Berklee College of Music, and I was in Boston, and it was October 2013, and I went to see Hayao Miyazaki's The Wind Rises. It was one of the special screenings that were happening. And that journey also of seeing Jiro Horikoshi building his airplanes in rural Japan, and then them using ox carts to take the planes out into the airfield and test them, and complaining that Germany is so ahead of us, we'll never be able to do this. Everyone is much more advanced than Japan. We'll never be able to make these planes. That also kind of really resonated with me, that okay, Jiro's also going through that. That movie actually made me get up and say, I'm going to do this now. So I think I have a very special attachment to that film, because it's the film that made me just recalibrate everything and say, I want to do this too.
Well, and we're going to get to that in a sec. But my guess is that your style, would you call your style an anime style? I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
And that the Glassworker basically is your style. You did most of the character designs and things like that. Okay. So, and we also said you storyboarded the whole thing by yourself, correct? Just in the Miyazaki way. That's amazing.
Yeah. I have them here actually. So
those are all the storyboards?
Yeah, I made them on the computer, of course, but this is my copy that I would refer to while.
Were you drawing them in Photoshop or what program?
In Photoshop.
And in color. I see mostly color there.
Yeah.
So I would use these kind of, I would paint on it, but also use these kind of gradients to show the lighting, what kind of lighting I wanted in each shot, just so that the team working on it would know exactly the kind of tone I'm going for the shots.
Okay.
How long did? I want to know just how long that process took. Like, how long were you just storyboarding? Was it just you storyboarding for several years?
It took me 17 months to storyboard the entire film. Okay. And I drew 1,477 shots, but I also keyframed a few of them where I was very precise and specific about the movements I want. So I think 2,500 drawings to complete this whole thing. Then we cut together the entire animatic, and later on we cut, I think, 200 shots from the film. So I was dying inside, but it made the film better.
It was very long, right?
Yeah, it was 2 hours long. Yes.
Well, I mean, awesome. It's now, and this is about the phase I want to talk about, which is here's a guy that says, okay, I'm going to make the first 2D animated Pakistan feature film in Pakistan, and this is where I would think you have to have some friends. You have to have some people in Pakistan. You can't do it all by yourself. You got close. You almost did all of it by yourself, but there's a point where you need to have a studio full of people. Who are those first people? Did you know people in high school and things like that? You already had sort of a group that you were that mutually had a love for animation there in Pakistan?
So nobody in terms of from high school who pursued arts actually kept up with it, apart from two people who I'm going to mention. And that always upset me, because in Pakistan, there's so many talented and brilliant artists, but I think the arts aren't just as encouraged here. So nobody from high school, apart from Mariam, who worked on the film, who is a partner at the studio and the art director on the film. But the first person, obviously, that I showed the entire project to was Mariam, and we were discussing it. And then we both decided that, okay, let's start our own studio, and I came up with the name Mano. Mano was my cat's name. I thought it would sound nice for the studio, but also it was such an easy word to pronounce. Just Ma and No. So I thought that even the Japanese would be able to see it. In Urdu, it means nothing. It just means cat. So, but I found out later when our Spanish producer, Manuel Cristobal, came on board, that it also means hand. And that was just a remarkable coincidence. There was no real thinking that went behind that. But when I started working on the Glassworker, Mariam and I then started building the studio. And then my cousin Khizr, who is a wonderful, he had the right business mindset, but also was extremely creative as well. I told him he has to be a producer on the film. Um, and then there was the first artist I reached out to after that was somebody I knew from my days at Indus Valley School of Art and Architecture. I was there for 2 years before I dropped out and went for TED. But he was I think 2 years my senior. His name's Amir Rifat. He did a wonderful 2D animated film for his thesis, and I remember watching that and just thinking, this is amazing, and I would love to work with someone like this one day. So he's the first person I reached out to, and he seemed excited by the idea. He came on board, developed a lot of things with me, and then it started snowballing. And then he involved somebody else, and then somebody else came on board, and that's really how it first got started. But we didn't have any real funding. It was just kind of out of my own pocket and my family's pocket. Nobody had tried to do something like this in Pakistan, and I was just figuring it out as we went along. And then my TED mentor recommended that you should do a Kickstarter to raise some financing to kind of make a pilot. And then in 2016, we did a Kickstarter, raised $116,000 and made a 6-minute kind of pilot for what the Glassworker could be. I took that to Japan. I'd been to Studio Ghibli in 2015. When we finished the pilot, this was in 2018. And I took that back to Japan, and I visited Studio Ponok, where Jeffrey Wexler was. He was the chief of international of Studio Ponok and the English language producer for the Ghibli films. So he then came on board and said, I'll help you navigate the animation industry, and we'll get some people to kind of assist you with things. And it just kept snowballing from there.
Fantastic. So you already hit some of my questions about like, wow, how long was it a labor of love before some financing kind of came in? Now, I don't know if you want to talk about like how much the whole thing cost. Some people are sensitive about that. That's up to you, but can I ask? Like what?
No, the entire was? Thing it cost a lot of money. Basically.
Yeah, but compared to a Disney film, I'm guessing it probably not, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. It was around the I don't know if I should be saying this, but I will let you know.
Nobody listens to our podcast, so keep
going. You're just one of two listeners that we have, actually. Maybe 7. We're up to 7 now. But okay,
I would say it cost around like 1/3 of a Ghibli film. So not a lot of money for a Ghibli production, or obviously a Disney production, but quite a bit of money for a Pakistani animated film. Yeah, because our movies in Pakistan, the film industry in Pakistan is struggling to begin with, and there's not a great infrastructure for live action filmmaking. So animation is just a distant dream, and there are a number of remarkable people doing CG work here, but nobody had attempted to make something like this. So in terms of that, it was probably one of the more expensive films to come out of Pakistan.
Well, what's happening for so long? Oh, yeah, hold on, Tom. With this going on for so long, and you pursuing it, but also getting so much media exposure for what you're doing with TEDx, people are starting to hear about you. You're becoming the pride of Pakistan, I'm sure. And what about the government? Was there a point where they wanted to be involved and they were proud of what you were doing? They wanted to help out? Was there any help from government officials or anything?
So that's one of the biggest questions that we got at Annecy, even in 2022, where they were asking us how much government support do we get here in Pakistan, and how much did the Glassworker get? We didn't get any government support. There are no funds. There are no funds. There are no grants. There's literally nothing to do something like this in Pakistan. People are trying. They're trying to get this off the ground, but I couldn't take advantage of any of that for the Glassworker. It was all privately financed. My family put in a lot of money. Our family friends, wonderful people in California who really believed in the project, who I convinced to fund a part of this project. So I'm very, very grateful that people gave us the
Fantastic.
opportunity to do this, because no, we didn't get any support.
Now, Usman, is that part of, and it's sad to hear, but is that part of this 10-year timeline of the film? Because it sounds like you had an idea, you boarded it in 17 months, but 10 years. So was it very off and on, that whole 10 years?
So the initial sketches I made of the characters and the concept of the story was in 2014. And then it wasn't off and on as much. It was I would say consistent every day, just working on it a bit more, and then gradually from it taking, I would say, 8 to 9 hours a day to about 15 hours a day, just being dedicated to the whole thing to make it happen. And then it got to a point where once we had the studio, and once we were working on the film and in full scale production with all of the international people involved, we would work in the day from 9 to 6, and then we'd be on Zoom calls at night with our international team. So it became, I at one point it became too much. For 3-4 years it was extremely difficult and hectic. But I really was pushed by the fact that nobody had done this before in Pakistan, and I just really wanted to make this film and just show people it can be done. But there were a lot of points where I was like, I don't want to show myself that it can be done because it's too hard. It was very difficult.
I can't imagine. I gotta do a shout out real quick too, is that you have all these videos on YouTube that are behind the scenes videos of the making of the glass
those are
worker.
incredible,
and they're really well done. And the ones I'm thinking of right now is when you said you had a studio. It looks like a nice, slick studio with good equipment, and I don't know how many people, but it looks like good couple of handfuls of people too. When did that come about? I mean, there must have been an added funding to kind of get that office, get the equipment, get all the people, basically.
Thank you. I lit the studio nicely, so it looks good on camera.
Looks big, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I'm very grateful. It's a very nice space. What happened was we started in one room where it was just 2 people working, and then we fit 5 people in that one room, which was tiny. And then we expanded to the room next to us. Then as the team kept getting bigger, we shifted to the bigger studio. And at, I would say, the height of production, we probably had around 40 people working in Karachi and in the studio in Pakistan at one time. But we've worked with, I would say, 80 people across these 10 years in Pakistan to make the film. And then we outsourced some of the cleanup and the in-between work to a few wonderful studios in the Philippines and Korea. And then our backgrounds, we outsourced a few of them to studios in Lithuania and other parts of Europe and Thailand. So we worked with a pretty substantial team. But in Pakistan, there were in the studio around 40 people at the height of production.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah. So, and was it hard to find those 40 people, or were people just? I bet when they started hearing about it, they were coming out of the woodworks, right? Were you being contacted, or did you really have to do a big search?
So this is something I talked about in my Annecy talk as well, which was that everybody who applies to the studio loves hand-drawn animation, but when they see how much work it is, suddenly they don't love it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But we teach at the college level, and we've seen that. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Once you do your first couple in betweens, you may lose that love.
They're like, I'm gonna take biology instead. Yeah, it's easy.
So that's exactly what happened. People would come, and they would just work for a few days in the early stages, see how much work it is, and then yeah, they go
Well,
leave the studio.
we always say there's a big difference between being a fan of animation and
Hmm.
wanting to be an animator, right?
Yes.
Because those people that first showed up, I'm sure, were like just like you, watched the movies all the time, Disney and Miyazaki, but then and thought that and drew a little bit, right? And then
Right.
thought
Yeah.
they wanted to do it full time. But man, it becomes a grind really fast, doesn't it?
Exactly. And again, we found a few wonderful, talented artists who a lot of them stuck it through to the end.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very grateful for that. But the cycles of people was just remarkable. I would get flustered because I wanted to finish the film, and I
Yeah.
most of the time didn't know who I could rely on apart
Mm,
from our core team. So it
Yes.
was a difficult process for me, and uh, I didn't have as much experience like 6 7 years ago as I do now,
Yeah.
which isn't a lot of experience to begin with. But it was a tough process just training people in Pakistan. But our team did a wonderful job, and I'm very, very grateful that the film. It's a miracle that this film was made, basically, because a lot of times I thought it wouldn't happen.
well, in so many ways. I mean, doing it in Pakistan, the
Hmm.
fundraising, and so it's really a persistence of vision that you had
Yes.
over 10 years that made you able to be able to complete this. Must be super satisfying to be at this side of it instead of in the beginning. Um, but it's also one of those things that you'd probably agree, but sometimes in life, not knowing what the trial is going to be helps you to be able to get through it, right? So
Absolutely.
if you would have known the headaches, the difficulty, you probably would have given up, right?
Definitely. I said that to so many people that had I known how hard it would be, I probably wouldn't have jumped into it with as much enthusiasm. I did not think it would take 10 years at all. I thought maximum it would take 6 7 years. That's the kind of benchmark that I'd given myself. I gave myself 6 years to get all of this done, but it was a much more difficult journey than that. But I'm very grateful I went on that journey because
Absolutely.
I have so much. I mean, I've been watching behind the scenes for how the amazing Disney films and the amazing Japanese animated films and Ghibli films are made. So I always knew how hard it was, but I have a newfound appreciation for the amazing work that
Mm.
and the consistent, uh, just the consistent releases that these remarkable films and these remarkable studios have did back then, where you'd get a film every few years, and
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
one as incredible as the previous one, discovering and just new forms of expression in them, technology being implemented, all of those things. So it really made me step back and go, wow, like the run that Disney had in the 90s with those films is just remarkable.
Okay, I got to ask
Um,
some tech questions. Get a little geeky here. So,
yes.
I've seen video behind the scenes, and it looks like it was all hand drawn animation on pencil and paper. Is that true? Not digital at
So
all?
So in for the Glassworker, we did do digital, but I didn't know any animation softwares to use. So our animation director came up with a system where we worked in Photoshop in the early years,
Oh, wow.
where I would just,
Oh.
because I drew on paper and I would animate on papers. I didn't know anything about drawing digitally. I started drawing digitally for the Glassworker. So and now it's tough to go back
Yeah.
Yes.
because once you discover that undo tool and just
Yeah.
morph and liquefy.
Uh,
But we worked in Photoshop for the early years, and I just would keyframe on that, and we would make the in betweens and everything on that. And I think a lot of people stuck with that because I I said, okay, it's just like drawing on paper. And then we would compile it in After Effects and make the timings and everything correct, and
Yeah.
get the drawings to move the way we did. I would treat it like the quick action recorder. For me, it was just I'm drawing on paper. So
Yeah.
that's really how we did most of it.
What's the
So,
software you guys use now, though? I mean, are you with TV Paint, Toon Boom Harmony? Do you
Toon
guys
Boom Harmony.
Toon
Toon Boom
Boom
okay.
Harmony.
Harmony?
Yeah,
Cool.
that's a good go-to.
Yeah.
So what were some of those early mistakes? I just want to hear this story because I'm getting the feeling, hearing your story, that you have training in music. You went to Berkeley School of Music. You have like profound training there. But I think you're self-taught when it comes to animation. Is that part true?
Yes. So
Okay.
with animation, it was just so I studied fine arts in school, and I went to a fine arts school college in Pakistan, and nobody teaches animation here, the fundamentals of animation. So for me, it was just the behind the scenes documentaries, and because I could draw and draw quickly, I would kind of follow along, and a lot of the Glenn Keane videos were an inspiration. But then, of course, the Ghibli documentaries that I was watching. So I would just examine that, and then I had the Richard Williams book as well. So the animation
Sure.
fundamentals in that.
Mhm.
It was just trial and error, just figuring out how to get it to look a certain way and get the characters to move a certain way. And the reason I also picked the anime style for this film is that there's no way the Disney style can ever be replicated by anyone other than who has worked in Disney, just because the amount of drawings and the fluidity of the motion. That's the fundamental difference, I would say, between Japanese animation and Western animation, is the
Sure.
fluidity in the motion.
It's
and
really the
and
amount of
and
in-betweens.
it's the in-betweens, but it's
Yeah.
also just this consistent motion in every shot, and it's the weight in the drawings is so perfectly maintained, and it just blows my mind. But in Japanese animation, there's a heavy reliance on uh, hitting poses, and it's the stillness of the drawings in those. So there are not as many drawings, but what they try to do is hit positions that are evocative and interesting silhouettes. So I tried, because we would already be having fewer drawings in the film anyway. I
Yeah.
said we let's use that to our advantage, and let's try to. There's no way the Ghibli style can be replicated either. Let's just try to find our own thing with this, and just pay homage to the films that I love. But finding that balance was tricky in the beginning, and sometimes we would have too many in betweens that would make the drawings look strange, and the characters would look just off because it the stillness wasn't there. They'd be like
Yes.
wobbling, and the line boil wasn't correct, and things like that. So those trial and errors in the beginning was the tough part. But then I kind of found a rhythm and said, okay, this is the aesthetic we can stick with, and if it's consistent throughout the whole film, the suspension of disbelief will be much easier. If we keep jumping styles between shots, then we have a problem. So that was the most difficult part.
Yeah, that's and so what you're talking about is animation training, and you've tried
Yes.
and trial and error, and you sort of discovered the animation style that you could kind of pull off, is what you were saying.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and that's super important. What you don't get out of all those books and behind the scenes and stuff like that is how to create an animation pipeline. How something starts from A and goes all the way to Z, where it's fully in color and composited and all that.
Mhm.
That had to have been, especially in Pakistan, where there's nobody else with experience. I'm guessing that was probably one of the biggest hurdles, is like, how was it just all on your shoulders to be able to go, okay, I think this is the next step, and then this next step, and then this next step, and then kind of trying to find the people to plug in and to kind of head up those departments, basically, too, to be the camera person, to be the ink and paint supervisor or color modelist. So tell us about that side of it too, of like the structure of the studio and kind of having to make that up a little bit, and the trial and error there.
Definitely. Uh, there was so much experimentation that went into that. The main thing that I think made the process easier was my storyboards. So because I drew the entire film out, that's where, before I had a team, before I worked with anybody, it was just me drawing the film. So to have the characters and the backgrounds, and pretty much planning out exactly what I want in the frame, we kind of built off of that, and then examining the Japanese pipeline where they have their storyboards, then they have their layouts, which is a more refined version of the storyboard, of course, and
Right.
the background is defined and the characters are defined, and then we move to key animation, and the background goes to be painted, and then the compositing comes in at the end. Because in my storyboards, I'd also labeled exactly how I wanted the parallax for moving camera shots, and defining all of the planes for whatever I wanted in the background. Everything would stem from that. I would sit with the heads of department, and they did a phenomenal job. Again, our animation director, Amir Rifat, did a great job. Mariam, who was our art director, did an incredible job, just kind of defining the pipeline. And of course, the producer, Khizr, just kind of building that pipeline in Pakistan without any knowledge to go off of. Yeah, you said exactly correctly that the books don't tell you how to build a pipeline. So we kind of examined what we knew and reverse engineered everything and built our own pipeline. And then also I would sit and review everything multiple times a day, every day, where the key animation, because we worked with an inexperienced team, there were only a few. Everybody in the team was an animation enthusiast. Everybody loved the craft, and we would share ideas, and we would talk about, look at how this person did this, how can we incorporate it into our work. And we would do workshops and sit and just understand ourselves, how we can learn from all of these incredible artists, including yourselves, by the way. We would look at a lot of your work. We would look at a lot of Aaron Blaze, and we would
Tutorials,
because
yeah.
his YouTube channel, and
He's great. Yeah.
he's wonderful, and just trying to implement with our limited knowledge based off of those videos, the work into our pipeline, and just figure it out as we go along. Because in the Japanese documentaries and everything, they don't show much at all.
Yeah.
So you just see them working on the papers, and they even flip it differently compared to the Western animations.
Oh yeah, it's from the bottom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So it was an interesting experience, just finding how we can use bits from both worlds and incorporate it into our work. But it was a lot of fun. As difficult as the whole process was, I think that was the most fun I ever had. I had the most fun drawing the film and the storyboards, and then just sitting and figuring out how to do it.
Yes.
It was amazing.
I'm sure that's the best part, right? Like, because
Yeah.
a lot of people would call that work, but if you love it, it's not work, right?
It's not work. Yeah.
It's
Definitely.
that kind of
That's
exploring and discovering.
And that's what Tom and I always say that too, about not only on the podcast, but with our students at Lipscomb too, is that, you have to be in animation, you have to fall in love with the process of animation.
Yes.
Because there is a gratification that comes at the end, but if you don't like all the steps going into it, you're not going to make it to the end. You're not going to have the patience that it takes.
And you're not going to like
it.
what's at the end either. It's not going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to really be able to break something down and enjoy the layering process of creating a creative work like that. And it sounds like you really do. So tell me, Usman, Annecy, we talked about that. You premiered the film, you finished the film, you take it to Annecy. And from what I read, I think it released in Pakistan, wasn't it like really close, like the week after Annecy? If that's true, it's out there right now. How's it doing? What's the reaction you're getting to your film?
Well, and I want to hear about the opportunities that are coming from it.
That's the next
Absolutely.
question. Yeah.
So the film will be releasing in Pakistan July 26th.
Okay, it hasn't come
almost
out.
there.
Okay.
Almost
Good.
there. So we, in terms of the film festivals, we our first kind of soft launch was at Cannes. We had market screenings where at the Cannes Film Festival, and Khizr and I spoke at the American Pavilion about what we're doing in Pakistan. So that was amazing, where we could just sit and talk about the work that we're doing in Pakistan with some of the best people in the film industry. It was a huge honor. And then, of course, with the premiere at Annecy, we're working with Charades, our sales agent, and so if some sales for the film have been done, which I'm very excited about. And then we had our premiere at the Shanghai International Film Festival, where a lot of Japanese animation enthusiasts actually saw the film and are very excited to see it in Hiroshima at the Hiroshima animation season, which I'll be going to in August. And I've never experienced this before, so I'm enjoying the journey as it goes along. My experiences with my work have always been going up on stage and either performing or talking about what I'm doing. And with this film, it's a new experience, and I'm just really grateful to be on this other side, like we said earlier, and just watching people see the film. And I think in Pakistan, what we did was we did a few secret screenings for some of the artists and animation enthusiasts here. They have been really enjoying the film and are very proud of the fact that something like this was done in Pakistan. So we'll see what happens when it releases. I'm just waiting with bated breath.
You like I mean there's just like everywhere in the world, you have to work with a distribution house, a distribution studio. Are you happy with how things are rolling out so far with your distributor?
I'm extremely happy. Well, with our sales agent, with the distributors in Pakistan, again, they are also they love the film, but they're like, this has never been done before. So everyone's nervous to see how the audiences here will react. I know that animation enthusiasts are enjoying it and appreciate the work that went into it, but everyone is kind of anxious to see what happens. So I will let you know how the experience is once it's released, because I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. So, but I mean, I hear you there, but like, do you feel like there's enough deals in place and enough,
theaters engaged,
theaters and internationally, that you're going to be able to recoup your money? Is there any feeling of that yet?
That's the biggest concern, and I don't know, because in China, when we show it, or in Japan, I don't know exactly. Everyone who has come on board hasn't really specified how many screens it's going to get in the show, so everyone is just waiting to see what happens. I would love to know all of this so that we can go to our investors and say your money will come back.
Yes.
Oh man,
you got friends and family involved. You
I mean, we totally get it. Tom and I, we've done independent. We've worked with big studios. We are at a pivotal point in Usman's life. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Usman is on pins and needles, hoping that it goes well. Tom and I we have the fun. We're excited for you. We're just like,
I know,
great, go Usman, and cheerleading you on. But I know where you're sitting right now is a different experience. Yeah. There's hopes, there's dreams involved, there's commitments, and also the future, like Tom was starting to get to. The future is really dependent. This is how Hollywood is. I know it's pretty much like this everywhere when you're talking about business. Everybody wants to kind of stay a little hands off with like, what's next? Are we going to give investment to mono studios until we see what happens with the Glassworker? Right. So where you sit right now, I know you're nervous. I know you're anxious, but are you feeling pretty excited too about the future of where,
or hopeful
of where things are going to go with not only your movie, but also mono studios and what could be next?
So I know that I love this craft more than anything, and I've already begun working on the next idea.
That's right. Love hearing that.
So I'm just trying to stay focused on what I love about this, and why I started in the first place, what inspires me, and keeping that close, and just enjoying the process. And I'm hopeful that, I think, if it wasn't meant to do something, I wouldn't have been in this situation to begin with, and we wouldn't have finished the film. So I keep thinking about that there's a reason we finished this. There's a reason we were even allowed to get to this point, and have the finished film, and for us to get the acclaim that we got at Annecy, and at Shanghai, and hopefully Hiroshima as well, where I get to share it with the Japanese animation uh, industry that
Oh, that'll
inspired
be
me to.
fun. Yeah.
So exactly. So I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, and I know that I will keep doing this, and I love this craft.
Good for you.
And
Well, Usman, you're an artist. You're an artist. We're all artists here.
Yeah.
Artists have to create. It's leave it up to the businessmen to be anxious about the dollars and the cents, right? You got to just
Yeah.
keep going forward and creating, because that's what you're good at. That's what you know. So
And
good
tell
for you.
stories. That's you know.
Thank you.
So my last question is, I know this one you set out going, I'm just going to make a movie for me at Glassworker, and you were inspired by a period piece kind of film that Miyazaki did, and you went for a period piece that has like some historical references and things like that. With the marketing people now talking in your ear, and then the reviewers saying certain things and all that, are they people whispering like, maybe next one you do real commercial, make it about puppies, that kind of thing? Are you hearing that kind of talk?
Yeah, actually, even while making the film, people were saying that. They were saying you should make it more commercial, this, that, and I think there's this wonderful quote that I keep paraphrasing that Walt Disney said. He said, "We don't make movies to make money. We make movies to make money to make more movies." So I do understand the
Yeah.
the money angle, to finance the next project and the next project. So I think it has to be this blend of artistic but also commercial. I've always believed that, and like the Disney films that I grew up watching, and most of my team, and there's one of our animation supervisors, probably one of the biggest Disney fans I've ever met, and he loves Glenn Keane, and he was showing a lot of workshops on those films, how some of the animation was done, and what I was thinking while watching that is that you're getting the artistic fulfillment from that, but they're also commercial successes, and
Sure.
and remarkable commercial successes. So I will never think that there shouldn't be commercial angles in movies, especially movies like this, animated films that take so long to make, that need the
Yeah.
financing to be able to hit that quality. So I would I would love to make a movie about puppies one day, but
Yeah,
that was
that might be
bold of
right.
you to say.
but
Yeah.
finding a way where I can get satisfaction out of it, and
Yes.
audiences can get satisfaction out of it.
No, I mean, you just can't ignore your audience, right? And that's what you're really
Yeah.
saying is, yes, I
Yeah.
have to make it a personal film. I have to be passionate about this subject,
Right.
but I'm not going to ignore that I want people to watch it. It's not just for me,
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I understand.
Well, to go
100%.
full circle, Usman, with this example is that, when Tom and I were working on The Lion King with an incredible group of people, Glenn Keane did not work on The Lion King, by the way,
Mhm.
but, although we still love him too. But, when we were working on The Lion King, there was always this sense of, we're making this for ourselves. And I think that's the best place to be. And I know all the best films, all the creators were always making something that they loved. They had to love it first.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it wasn't going to turn out well. So I love that you have that in your story, Usman, that you love the story. For the Glassworker, you developed it yourself. You're passionate about it, and you stuck to it. you got some fans here in the U.S., Usman. The Bancroft brothers are going to support
Right
you.
here, 100%.
We love what you're doing.
I think we're
So-
best friends, actually. Let's just say we're best friends.
We're best friends. I think I'm the only one that actually follows you. I don't know if Tom has
I
proven.
follow
that
him as of today. I
Oh,
follow
as of today. Oh,
on
okay,
Instagram.
nice.
Yeah.
So you got one more follower on Instagram.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
we're just really hopeful that so July 26th, I think you said it comes out there
Yes.
in Pakistan. So we'll be cheering you on.
Usman, you need to have us come up for that because that's just days before our birthday. So
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
that's true.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The
Yeah.
31st
No.
is our birthday.
We could
But
actually, grow older and maybe have a heart attack and die at the premiere of the film. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
No,
Well,
no.
yeah.
give you the marketing you might
It
need.
give you publicity. Anyway.
Yeah.
I just want to say,
we do have to get going, but sorry
Yes.
to cut you off. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say you two are an inspiration, and your work has motivated us so much in the studio. It's a huge honor to be talking to you. Thank you.
I'm so impressed by
you.
your studio. I've watched these behind the scenes. Miriam, is that it? I think I'm
Yeah.
saying the English
Yes,
version of
that's
that. But really impressed by her too. So shout out to you, Miriam. And just saw a lot of the behind the scenes and just, man, the passion of your core team, especially not the ones that left. We forget about them, but the ones that stuck it through and that believed in you too. By the way, Usman, I know you guys will be together for years to come. I'm sure because that you've gone through the war together. So congratulations on your amazing.
Thank you.
Most people would have just churned out a short in that time. You guys did a feature.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Thank
so
you.
impressed.
Well, thank you,
you so
Usman, for
much.
being on the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast. And Tom, as we always say, given to us by Glenn Keane himself, as we always say.
Animate
from the
heart.
Be sure to subscribe to the Pencil-ish Studios YouTube channel.